Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we are going to take a quick look at the available contracts here. I don't think we're going to do any of these right now. The thing that we're going to work on is actually positioning a satellite in synchronous orbit of Eve. So let's go ahead and work on that, shall we? Now, I feel like we probably have enough delta V in what we've got here. But I do want to potentially... Let's see, it's this guy here. I do want to take a look here. Yeah, this should be more than enough. All things considered. Yeah. I think this is sufficient. It'd be, better if we had ion propulsion, but that's not a thing. So let's go ahead and launch this, and let's just head off to Eve. Let's do our very first interplanetary mission, shall we? So, of course, first things first, we are going to turn on SAS, throttle on up, and let's begin our launch. Decent speed off the pad. We, of course, have our SRBs thrust limited. So that's great. They will burn a little bit longer here for another 75 seconds. We are currently at 100 meters per second in the surface mode. So let's start making our way over towards the prograde marker. Right. So I did that on purpose, by the way. We are going to make our way right on back down, and we're going to try to recover this as best we can. The reason that I'm doing this, and I'm going to deploy the fairing, the reason that I'm doing this is because this is the old version with the Prototype Octo. This is not the version with the Octo 2. So we may crash this, and in fact, I believe we will crash this. But we're just going to try to do like a belly flop maneuver like the Starship. This isn't going to go well. This is not designed for this. Yeah, we're just going to crash it. It's fine. We can't get this vertical enough to try it. But that's expected. So that's fine. I should have double checked that. We're going to not revert to the vehicle assembly. We're going to eat the cost of that. But we are going to come back here, and that was the auto-saved variant. So that was the same version that we put around Minmus. What we needed to load up was the new variant. So we open up the France Comsat Mark III, that is this guy, and I also should have checked to see if there was a magnetometer on this, because we need a magnetometer, if I recall correctly. Yeah, we need a magnetometer. Okay, that's completely fine, and we will put one of those on. Where are you, magnetometer? That is you. Okay, that is an awkward angle for you to be at. Much better. Okay, so with that, plus the Octo 2, we should be, plus the small inline reaction wheel, which actually, I'm going to upgrade this small inline reaction wheel to an advanced inline stabilizer, like that. I want to really be able to turn this thing. So that does cost us a little bit of DV, but we should still be completely fine, all things considered. We could extend this tank, but I don't think it's necessary. Let's go ahead and save and launch. So with that out of the way, hopefully that was the derp moment of this particular launch. Yes, I know, KSP, you're not responding. It will respond. There we go. Perfect. Let's go ahead and launch this guy, but I'm going to double check the staging just to make absolutely sure. Looks good. And off we go. It would have been funny if I'd pulled off the belly flop maneuver, but we just didn't have the aerodynamic control. This thing's way too long, and our center of lift is way down here. So it was never going to happen. It would have been funny, though. There's no doubt about that. Okay, let's just start wiggling our way over towards that prograde marker at this point. Using the rotation of Kerbin to our advantage, we are rotating over to the east. Excellent. And we'll just make for that prograde marker. We're having a little bit of aerodynamic resistance. There's no doubt about that one. And the prograde marker will be manageable in a moment here. Just chasing that marker slightly, and there we go. That marker is moving a fair amount currently. But that's okay. It should stabilize here pretty soon. Excellent. We've still got another 20 seconds on our SRBs. And we're moving pretty quick right now. There's no doubt about that one. In fact, I'm going to cut our main engine and just coast on the SRBs for the time being, because we're moving awful fast. SRB's off, and we'll burn the main engine just to give us a little bit of escape here. And in fact, we'll keep burning for now. It's fine. We're currently at an apoapsis height of about 55 kilometers, so that's okay. I don't really care too much about our inclination. We're going to have to adjust our inclination anyway. We'll aim for an apoapsis height of about 80 kilometers, and we've actually burned more than I expected out of this stage, that's for sure. That's that stage gone. Okay. And up we go, and we are, of course, going to put in a maneuver here. We did do a lot of circularization there. This is a very flat orbit. So this is only about 400 meters per second to get into orbit, so that's really not too bad. Once we hit 50 kilometers, we'll go ahead and ditch this fairing. There we go. No fairing. And we will just position for the burn here. We don't know exactly how long this burn is going to be until we hit space, which is fine. I'm going to go ahead and physics warp up towards space here. We're not going to burn anything out of this stage until we're in vacuum. Okay, there we go. We're in vacuum. This is going to be a 54-second burn, so T minus 27 seconds. We will go ahead and warp towards that. And we will arrive at 27 seconds momentarily. About right... Just adjusting the heading here. Now. Okay, there we go. Perfect. In fact, let's just lock prograde. It'll be fine. So we'll burn about 400 meters per second here. And, of course, we have a lot of delta V here. It should be more than enough to put us in a synchronous orbit of Eve. No concerns whatsoever there. 200 more meters per second in this burn. We don't need to extend anything here. We don't need to extend the antenna. It's all good. 100 more meters per second. There we go. And we are in orbit. And we'll call it good now. Good enough. Okay, we'll probably use the moon as a gravity assist here, so we'll add a maneuver somewhere around here, a little later actually, somewhere around here. Look for a moon encounter. Little later than this. There we go. And we're going to need to fine-tune this encounter. I want to burn a bit prograde here, and... Actually... we probably want to make this be a little later, don't we? Yeah, more like this. Get a bit of a gravity assist going. A bit retrograde, perhaps. Adjust the timing on the burn. A bit more retrograde. Adjust that timing. A little more prograde now. There we go. That is a moon gravity assist that flings us out of the system. Perfect. I mean, it's not exactly ideal, but it'll do. It will do. Let's go ahead and warp towards that maneuver. Excellent. And I want to check in on our electric charge. Our electric charge is looking absolutely fine. No concerns there. 1 minute 32 seconds on this burn. That is okay. And we will burn this at, of course, T minus 46 seconds is our marker. So let's warp towards that. And we will burn this now. Now this is not right on the maneuver node, and I'm actually going to put it right on the maneuver node here because I don't want to impact the moon here. We'll have to double check that our trajectory is correct, but it should be pretty close. And getting out of the Kerbin system will end up burning about half of this maneuvering stage. And then we've still got this stage with 4,000 delta V in it. So I don't think we've got a problem here. Now our timing might not be ideal to get to Eve. We might want to do some missions in the meantime. We might not end up getting there immediately. We'll see what the timing ends up looking like for the intercept. I didn't even bother to look at that. We'll figure it out later. No problem just abandoning this thing in Kerbal orbit for a few years. Hey, we're going to get a milestone for that too. Okay, so about another 300 meters per second on this burn. I'm just adjusting our heading a little bit. There we go. Looks great. I don't even know what our Eve orbit that we're aiming for ends up looking like. It kind of doesn't matter at this point. We are, of course, going over here. And realistically, this might be reasonable timing for an Eve transfer. We'll have to look to see how that does end up looking. But it might be okay. Okay, so we're just going to burn this a little bit more carefully as we work towards an escape here. Looks great. That will do the trick. Not quite as tight. We're not going to be flung out quite as quickly, but that's okay. We don't actually care. We're going to have a Kerbin escape, and we're going to be using the moon to do it. So let's go ahead and warp to the moon encounter. Hello, moon. And there's Kerbin. Goodbye, Kerbin. There we go. So we will hop on over to the moon real quick here. We'll just say hi as we go by, and we will warp to here. Thanks for the assist, moon. We have no electric charge right now. That's exciting because our solar panels are currently entirely occluded. Luckily, we're going to be we're going to be hanging out here for quite a while. We're going to go ahead and go to the Kerbin escape, but I believe that because we have no power, we currently cannot set up a maneuver node. We will eventually get power, and I should have put in extendable solar panels. That is definitely true. There's no doubt about that one. But it's fine, we will eventually turn correctly. And once that happens, then we'll be okay. You can see here the sun is moving this way. So soon enough, we should start getting some amount of sun flow here. There we go, sun flow. Perfect. And we are just about to our Kerbin escape here. And that's 1 day in the future. That's 1 year in the future. Where is our Kerbin escape? Our Kerbin escape is here. 5 hours. Sure, we'll just go ahead and warp here 1 day in the future. Until we have escaped Kerbin. And that will be momentarily. And in fact, while we're warping, in order to prevent that, we really should put the Probodobodine Octo into hibernation. Okay. Let's just go ahead and flip to, like, retrograde for right now. There we go. And we'll go ahead and run a temperature scan, and we'll transmit that. And we'll run a magnetometer report. And we'll transmit that as well. All right, we're going to need to allow partial transmissions here. We'll grab this. And I'm going to go into time warp here while we're doing this. And we're going to let our electric charge build up. And then we'll transmit this allowing partial. Yes. I'm aware that there's not enough electric charge. That will take a little bit of time. So while that's running, let's go ahead and take a look at this. We did get some science there, and we initiated the first flyby, entered orbit, and got the first scientific data from the sun. Now, if we were to do this again, we would get nothing because we can't transmit it. That is completely fine. So let's take a look then at the eve inclination. Now, the descending node would be over here. I'm just out of curiosity, what would happen if we did a retrograde burn? No, if we did a retrograde burn over here and just got in here. No, not like that. This is awkward because we're currently putting all of the power into the electric charge, so that's why this is happening. I'm just wondering where exactly Eve would be. Okay, yeah, that's fine. That is completely okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to set our target as Eve. Thank you. At the descending node, we're going to cannot add a maneuver node because we're still uploading data. Okay, we're going to move into 50x, maybe 100x time warp. Okay, there we go. We've now finished uploading our data, and we're going to then burn... Is this normal or anti-normal? Normal. We're going to burn normal. About like that. We don't need to burn quite this much. Okay, something along the lines of that. Now we've got 960 meters per second left in this tank, so that is completely fine. SAS can go on. However, we should actually put the Probodobodyne Octo right now into hibernation. There we go. And we should now go ahead and warp to this maneuver. That's 112 days in the future, but I'm okay with doing this. Let's just finish up this mission. No worries. The electric charge is full, and we did enter hibernation, so that is perfect. And pretty soon here, we're going to be losing our photovoltaic panels, but we've got the batteries, and we shouldn't drain very much, all things considered. Okay, let's go ahead and point towards normal. There we go. And we should probably pull the Probodobodyne Octo out of hibernation. I'm actually surprised that it allowed me to point towards normal with it in hibernation there. But this is going to be a 29-second burn, which we will go ahead and burn at T minus 14.5 seconds. So we'll go ahead and warp towards that a little bit here. And we'll burn now. Excellent. Just changing our inclination a little bit to match planes with Eve. And now the question becomes, how much am I willing to warp in order to get us this maneuver this episode? That is indeed quite the episode, or quite the question, isn't it? And I guess we'll find out. Okay. Is that close enough? Yeah, that's close enough. Okay, so let's take a look here at what would happen if we were to do this. I don't even know how much DV this is. This is going to be the remainder of the fuel in the maneuvering stage, but that's fine. Yeah, so our target position at closest approach is pretty bad. There's no doubt about that. And we may end up having to wait in orbit, but maybe if we do it at the periapsis, it might be okay. Actually, that's really close. What's that look like? Okay, this is our desired orbit. We can probably fine-tune this if I can find the node. Here's the node. Okay, we'll bring it in a little bit retrograde here. The inclination is going to be a little bit awkward. Flatten that out a bit. It's going to need to be slightly flattened out more, but we can adjust that later on. That won't be an issue. I think this is good. I think this is perfectly fine of an encounter as is. Hopefully we don't run into Gilly, but I don't think we will. So how far out is that? 291 days. I think that's a long time. But at the same time, I want this done. I really, really do. I want this done. So let's go ahead and warp it. We'll turn the hibernation on. And we'll go ahead and warp to next maneuver. It's going to be a little bit. There's no doubt about that. But I want to warp it this time. I am open to running missions during this tick time. But this is such a long tick time that we'd probably have the entire mining operation finished by the time this one is done. And I just want to get this mission over with, rather than having to try to remember what all's going on here. So I think it's fine to just go ahead and do this warp. If we have warps that are over, like, a year or two, we should probably work in that time. But I think this is okay. So this is going to be a retrograde burn. And we're going to have this burn going relatively soon here in a few days. Well, by that I mean 45 days. We're in a bit of a coast, but that's fine. And then it's going to be another coast until we actually have this interaction. It's going to be another roughly 6 months, but I think that's completely acceptable. So we're going to want to burn this at, let's see here, 30 plus 14.5 seconds, so 44.5 seconds. Let's go ahead and tick forward towards that. And we'll burn this in just a moment here. This is going to burn a little bit more than this stage has got, but that is fine. We'll burn this now. Excellent. And this stage is going to become space junk. We'll probably just untrack it at some point. But it'll be out here, you know, forever. Out in interplanetary space. And that's awkward. Certainly awkward. But it'll be fine. This T-400 will have plenty of fuel to get us where we need to... Well, actually, it doesn't need to get us where we need to go. We're already going there. It will just need to stop us and keep us there. Okay, so we've got about 10 seconds of burn left in our maneuvering stage, and then our actual spacecraft will take over. 3, 2, 1. And off we go. This is a tiny little pug. Okay, looks like it's pulling from its built-in fuel at the same time as liquid fuel and oxidizer. Okay. It's going to be a little while on the burn. The thrust to weight on this is, of course, not great, but the actual Delta V is amazing. So let's take a look at what our orbit is currently looking like. We are currently not getting an encounter. I'm going to stop this burn. We're going to come out of hibernation. That definitely needs to happen. And whoa, that's very powerful. That is very powerful. That'll take some getting used to. We could, at this point, turn this wheel authority down to like 10%. Okay. Yeah, that's better. And let's just burn this. That is good. Fantastic. So once we're here, we are, of course, going to need to do a bit of a retrograde burn. And I just want to encapsulate this, like, at the maximum possible way, or at the maximum possible amount. So something like this. That's only 300 meters per second. That's not bad. We are, of course, going to need to change our inclination to properly match this, and then change our apoapsis and periapsis. But that will not be bad. It is, however, time to put a cut in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and warp to this next maneuver. Or actually, technically, where I'm going to warp to is right out here. And I'm going to do that off camera. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I'll see you all next time when we finish up this mission. We'll just get this warp done and call it a day.